Welcome to our deep dive. And today we'll be exploring Flowers for Algernon. It's a story told through the progress reports of Charlie Gordon, a man whose life takes a dramatic turn after experimental surgery.
It certainly is. It's a story that goes really deep into what it means to be human, looking at intelligence, at identity, and how complicated relationships can be.
Right from the start, we're introduced to Charlie, working at Donner's Bakery.
hmm
He's 32 years old, and more than anything, he wants to be intelligent.
Yeah, he's going to night school, trying to better himself. He struggles with even basic reading and writing. His IQ is only 68. But even with all that, he's just so genuine, so eager to connect with people. He thinks of his coworkers at the bakery as his friends.
Even though they kind of make fun of him.
Exactly. They do, and he doesn't even realize it. It's this gap between how Charlie sees the world and the way it really is. It's really sad. Then this experimental surgery comes along. It promises to make him smarter.
It's a big promise. How does
Yeah.
that even work?
Well, they tested it first on a mouse named Algernon, and it seemed to boost his intelligence a lot. The scientists, especially this Professor Niemer, they're really keen to try it on a human.
So Charlie and this mouse Algernon, they're both part of this big experiment.
Exactly. As Charlie starts having the surgery and writing his reports, we see him struggling to deal with understanding things in a new way. Like he suddenly gets grammar and spelling, he's reading tons of books super fast. He even starts to understand difficult ideas better than his teacher, Alice Kinnean.
It's like a whole new world is opened up to him. But does it come with, like, a downside? I mean, it feels like there should be a downside to all this.
Oh, there is. At the same time his intelligence is growing, Charlie starts remembering things from his childhood that he'd blocked out, like about his mother, Rose, and how she abused him because he wasn't smart. It makes him realize how badly people have treated him his whole life.
Wow, that must be so much to deal with. It sounds like there's a lot more going on than just getting smarter.
For sure. As Charlie gets more intelligent, he sees the world and where he fits in much more clearly, and it's painful. He realizes that people who seemed friendly, like at the bakery, were actually being condescending. He even starts to have this complex relationship with Alice, his teacher, because he's developed feelings for her.
So it's not just his mind that's changing. His emotions are becoming more complex, too.
Absolutely. And then, right when he's at the very peak of his intelligence, Charlie finds a flaw in the experiment itself, the one that made him this smart.
Oh, this can't be good. What does he find?
Well, through a lot of research and analysis, he discovers what he calls the Algernon-Gordon Effect. What it means is intelligence that's created artificially won't last. He sees it happening firsthand with Algernon, the mouse. Algernon's getting worse, his behavior is erratic, he's losing the smarts he had.
It's like watching what's going to happen to himself, and it's not good.
Exactly. Seeing Algernon decline, Charlie knows he doesn't have much time. He decides to run away to New York, taking Algernon with him, trying to find a solution before his intelligence fades.
So he's not just a participant in an experiment anymore. He's desperately trying to save himself. What happens in New York?
Well, that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
I can't wait to hear more. This is already so fascinating.
When we left off, Charlie was on the run with Algernon, trying to escape this fate of losing his intelligence. Alone in New York, he's desperately searching for anything that can stop the Algernon-Gordon effect.
So what happens? Does he figure something out?
He does, but not what he was hoping for. He works really hard, but all he can do is prove that his intelligence will fade. There's no stopping it. Algernon keeps getting worse. His behavior is all over the place. He's losing everything he learned.
It's like watching his own future play out right in front of him, and it's just awful.
It is. Charlie sees Algernon declining and knows his time is running out, so he decides to go back and face what's happening to him, writing everything down in detail as his mind starts to go.
What a horrible situation. He reaches this amazing height only to have to go through this terrible fall.
Yeah, it's a powerful look at how temporary these intellectual gifts can be. As Charlie regresses, even his writing gets worse. It reflects how his thoughts are breaking down. He tries so hard to hold on to the memories of when he was so intelligent.
In all of this, does he have any moments of happiness at all?
He does connect with people for a little while. He sees Alice again, and they have a passionate romance. But as he feels himself losing his intelligence, he pushes her away. He can't stand the thought of her watching him fall apart.
It's almost worse than not having the intelligence at all, to experience it and then lose it.
Right, it's this bittersweetness. He finally finds love, but then he feels like he needs to protect Alice from the pain of seeing him regress.
So as he gets less intelligent, what happens next?
He decides to go and face his past, so he tries to find his mother and his sister. He finds his mom, Rose, in a nursing home. She has dementia and barely even recognizes him, but his sister, Norma, is so happy to see him, she gives him a little bit of the family connection he always wanted.
It's interesting. His mom's mind is fading while he's trying to hold on to his own. Did seeing his family help him at all?
It's complicated. He has this short, nice time with Norma, but then things go wrong when Rose has a moment of clarity. She gets delusional and attacks Charlie with a knife.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. It seems like there's no escaping the past.
Yeah. Even after that awful experience, Charlie feels like he's gotten some closure. He faced the ghosts from his past and even felt a real connection, even if it was just for a little bit.
So, as his intelligence fades, he gains a better understanding of himself and his past.
I think you could say that. But as he keeps regressing, the memories of everything, his time with Alice, his insights, they all start to disappear. He even goes back to work at the bakery, and this time his coworkers are kind to him because they know what's happening to him.
It sounds like a return to a simpler time. Maybe a blessing in disguise, given his situation.
It does seem like a safe place for a while, but then there's this heartbreaking scene where he forgets that he's regressed and shows up for Alice's night school class, not understanding why he's not a student anymore.
Oh, man. That's just so sad. It really shows how cruel this whole thing is. It's not just the intelligence he's losing, it's his connection to Alice and the life he had a taste of.
Exactly. That experience makes it clear just how much he's regressed. In the end, he feels overwhelmed by his condition and the pity he feels from everyone, so he makes a difficult choice.
What does he decide to do?
He checks himself into the Warren State Home. It's a place for adults with intellectual disabilities. He wants to be somewhere he doesn't stand out, where maybe he can fit in and belong.
It's so sad, but it also makes sense. He ends up back in the world he was so desperate to leave, but now he's looking for comfort in it.
It's a moving ending to a story with so many ups and downs. And before we move on to our final thoughts, there's one more thing we should talk about.
Sure. What is it? Sure. What is it?
In one of his last progress reports, Charlie asks for something so simple, but it really gets to you. He asks if someone will put flowers on Algernon's grave.
Oh, wow. Even as he's going back to how he was before, he still remembers Algernon and everything they went through together.
It says so much about Charlie, about his empathy, even as he's losing his intelligence. Algernon was more than just an animal in a lab. He represented hope and ambition, and how tragic the experiment really was.
It's like a way to honor Algernon's memory,
Right.
to recognize that the mouse played a part in all of this.
Exactly. And I think it also shows that Charlie understands that his own intelligence was temporary, just like Algernon's. It was like a bright flame that burned out too quickly.
This whole journey, it's been such an emotional roller coaster full of incredible highs and lows. It really makes you think about what intelligence is and what it means to be human.
It does. Flowers for Algernon really digs into the human experience, exploring all these complicated questions about scientific progress, empathy, and the power of connection.
It's a reminder that intelligence can show up in so many ways, and while being super smart can be amazing, it's really our ability to love, to be compassionate, and to understand each other that makes us truly human.
It makes you think about these big questions, about consciousness, about the pursuit of knowledge, and about the fact that our lives are finite.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least. Thank you for walking us through all the twists and turns of this incredible story.
It's been my pleasure. As we finish exploring Flowers for Algernon, I hope you'll take this story's powerful message with you and think about how strong human connection can be, even when we face challenges and loss.